The Wieland Plan Commission meeting for Thursday, May 10th, 2018 is called to order. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Mr. Secretary, roll call, please.
Commissioner Blanova?
I'm here.
Commissioner Creech?
Present.
Commissioner Dorban?
I'm here.
Commissioner Johnson?
Here.
Commissioner Kalis?
Here.
Commissioner Powers is here, and Chairman Rafato.
Here. Mr. Jennings, and welcome, Mr. Jennings.
Thank you.
Any changes to the agenda?
We have no changes this evening.
Thank you very much. Citizen concerns and comments. We had no one sign in this morning. Let's move right to consent items. Docket number SCBA 18-20, Platinum Pool, 300 Industrial Lane, appearance approval of a wall sign. Do I hear a motion?
So moved. Second.
Motion by Commissioner Dorban, second by Commissioner Blanova. Mr. Secretary.
Commissioner Dorban?
Yes.
Commissioner Blanova?
Yes.
Commissioner Creech?
Yes.
Commissioner Johnson?
Yes.
Commissioner Kalis?
Yes.
Commissioner Powers votes yes, and Chairman Rafato.
Yes. Items for review, docket number PC 18-5, Heritage Park, 100 Community Boulevard, minor site plan and appearance approval of a playground. Mr. Jennings, any changes, anything?
No major staff comments. We did have a memo that was just placed on the dais right before the meeting. The fire department completed a review of the updated plan. We have conditions of approval in the staff recommendation related to the fire department memo, which I can read off later on, but at this point I'd like to hand it over to the petitioner.
Thank you. Mr. Raffel, how are you this evening?
I'm good, thank you.
Thank you.
I'm Larry Raffel, Superintendent of Planning with the Wieland Park District, 100 Community Boulevard in Wheeling. And thank you very much. We're very excited about this project, as I think everybody is. It's something we've wanted to put in place, and we're ready for it now. And what I'd like to do is kind of just give a very, very brief history of how we arrived at this point in this particular location. As you know, we did the master plan of Heritage Park in 2009, and shortly before the actual construction of the redevelopment of Heritage Park took place in 2012, the existing playground was removed and placed in Meadowbrook Park. So this park was under construction for 3 years. It's been open for about 3 years now without a playground. So we're really at the point where we're ready. We feel real comfortable where we're at with this, and we know the public is really, and the commissioners and our board and the community is really looking forward to the playground. So if we can kind of look at the existing conditions here, the playground is basically going where that planting areas you see right there in the slide. And we did a very detailed location analysis, staff did, in the summer of 2016, and then kind of went through that again in the summer of 2017 to really find the best location for the playground. As part of the master plan, it was further north and west, but based on what's going on with the CRC and needing that open space, that green space, it's basically in a similar location, just pushed further south and a little bit east, which we really found is the best location because it gives it the visibility from Dundee Road, gives it a nice tie-in with the Family Aquatic Center, the sport complex, and the CRC, and it really allows us to do programming with both the sports complex and the Family Aquatic Center. When you have groups playing at the sports complex and you have families at the Family Aquatic Center, really you need a playground in those areas. So this really does provide the perfect location for that. There's a lot of visibility. Near restrooms, there's a drinking fountain right there, and there's parking right there. And this is placed in an area that's really far enough away from parking that we feel comfortable with the location of it. It's also, in that particular location, there are utility lines, there are utility easements, and there's the floodplain. So we've maneuvered this and kind of put the design in the location where we are not affecting any utilities. We're out of the easements, and for the most part, we're out of the floodplain. And recognizing the comments from the engineering department, we do know we need to provide some comp storage on this in the ratio that's required and that we intend to do. So you can see on the Heritage Park Playground site plan kind of where it's located. The other thing that this provides us is the opportunity to take advantage of the topography. In that area, the area just east of the Family Aquatic Center has some slopes to it. It's a little bit higher, so it allows us to really use that topography, and we're using that in a way, and you'll see it when we get into the playground design plan, that we're able to really provide some topography, not just around the site, but also within the playground, which is something that we really haven't done in the past. I'm really excited because you'll see how we're able to make the change in the topography within the playground part of the play element. So if we look at the playground design plan, you see up here, what we basically have is about an 8,200 square foot playground. And as with all of our playgrounds, we've separated by age group. There's a 2 to 5 play structure and play area. There's a 5 to 12 play structure and area, and there's swings, and they're all separated. And what you don't see on this particular slide is the safety zones for this playground, and we have really packed a lot of play value into this space. If we were to put on the safety zones required, you would not see any empty space in this playground. So we've really packed a lot of playground in there. Notice that the 2 to 5 structure down at the southwest is furthest from the parking lot. The playground itself is about 150 feet from the parking area, so it's pretty far. And we've placed the 2 to 5 area further away from that, but also as part of the shelter, so the caregivers and the kids have that shade right there adjacent to the closest to the 2 to 5 play area. Now what you see, if I can go over kind of the general area, on the site we worked with Ron and we modified the pathway on the east side of the site to provide the emergency access. So we've made it a lot wider. We opened up the turning radiuses, and I believe Ron was, or the fire inspector and the fire department was satisfied with what we finally came up with. This does reflect those discussions and that revision. So we have the 2 to 5 play structure at the southern end, the 5 to 12 up at the north east, and then we have the area of the swings, as you can see on there, and then we also have an arc swing. So we have belt swings, tot swings. We have what we call a friendship swing, which is the swings where the caregiver or two friends can swing facing each other. It's a kind of a new item, and it's very, very popular. So we've wanted to put one of these in a playground for a while, and this was a good opportunity to do that. So we have that as part of the swings area. And then the area you see in the center, which is kind of in the blue, that is sort of a peninsula separating the age groups, but also that's our change in elevation. So from the very top where the walk comes into that, it's about 6 foot higher than the play surface, and then as you move further south, it slopes down. So that adds an additional play element just in having a hill with safety surface that the kids can play on. And when I talk about the playground in a little bit more detail, I can tell you how we've utilized that hill for additional play element. Now, as I mentioned, a portion of this playground is in the floodplain. We've really tried to keep it out as much as possible, but the area out of the floodplain is primarily where that hill is. So there's a little bit of fill in the floodplain, and just south east of the playground is where we'll be providing the comp storage in that area. So if you look, it's kind of between the ball field and the playground itself, closer to the ball field, because we want to maintain as much open space as we can, or green space in that area. So if we go back to the playground plan there, the bike rack has been located, and where you see that, you start going up in elevation a little bit. So you're going a little higher in elevation in that area till you get to the path that leads into the playground. So that's where the other path by the arc swing, where it says arc swing. Mm-hmm. Yeah, right there. There you go. So that's all rising up in elevation. It's a 5% slope, so it's accessible. And it really provides the accessibility to that little hill piece in the playground, and then the rest of the playground as well, and then it slopes back down to meet the existing grade. As part of this plan, we'll be meeting the existing asphalt path on the south, and where it says new asphalt path, we're actually meeting the existing asphalt path in that location, but since that one's really busted up a lot, our intention is to replace that existing asphalt path piece, and that's the one that leads to the Family Aquatic Center and to the CRC. So if we talk a little bit about the amenities in this playground, besides the playground equipment, we have our benches, the same as the ones we used at all of our playgrounds and parks and are currently out in Heritage Park. We have the bike rack, which is already there, but it'll be relocated to this new location. Trash and recycling receptacles. And then we have some seat walls in some locations, and you can see on that plan. And part of the goal of the objective of this playground too is to bring public art into this space. And those seat walls are an opportunity to do, just one opportunity. We're working with Chicago Public Art Group to look at different ways to bring art into the park through our users, camp groups or different classes at the Community Recreation Center doing artwork, or doing funding and bringing other art projects into the park. And this is kind of the one we feel good about starting with. And basically they're tile insets into a seat wall. And we provided kind of a picture and some different ways that can be done. So we have seat walls, we have the site amenities, and then we also have the shelter you see down at the lower part there. The shelter is it is 20 feet by 30 feet in size, about 600 square feet. So it's not overly large, and our intention is to kind of use a structure that we've used from the same manufacturer from other parks, but provide a little bit of tie-in more with Heritage Park through the colors of the structure. So that's located there. It's fairly small. It's not necessarily a large space, but it will have lighting, as will this entire playground, and it'll also have GFI outlets in it. The light poles that currently exist out there will be relocated, and recognizing that the Family Aquatic Center and the sport complex are open and have activity in the evening, this playground will be lighted. And basically just using, like I said, the same light poles will just be relocated. If we can move to the playground equipment, I'll go into this in a little bit more detail, but this is kind of where we are with the playground equipment, and it's really exciting because we're doing some things new that we haven't done before, because some of these products that are in this playground are new. They've come out in the past couple of years, and basically you have the 2 to 5 structure, which is kind of over to my left. I'm guessing it's to your left also. Yeah, the 2 to 5 piece, and then the 5 to 12 structure, which is the other piece over there. And we have the swings, which you see in the background. You can see the 2 belt swings, the friendship swing in the center, and then 2 tot swings. And then on the other side, we have an arc swing that way, and that's a nice piece too, because we have one of those at Twain. It's not a tire swing, it's an arc swing. So the movement's a little bit different, but you also get a lot more kids on it. So those are, as you can see in the plan, those kind of have their own safety area in themselves. The one thing in this whole playground, and we've been doing this for the past several years, and it's really important to us, is to make our playgrounds completely inclusive. They've always been accessible, through our safety surfacing, but really we're looking at inclusive design and providing climbing, sliding, spinning, upper body strength. And you'll see all of those things are provided in this playground, and a lot more. So this playground really meets all those principles, and we'll be using the same safety surfacing that we've used on all of our other playgrounds, which is a synthetic surface. And then in the hill area, that'll also be a safety surface. That'll be a poured in place. So it's still got the same characteristics, but it's a different material, which helps to identify that this is a slope. And it's also easier to install in those locations. So on the hill, we have, and here's a couple of new items. On that hill, we have a roller slide. That is about a 16-foot long roller slide built into that hill. Typically, our roller slides are maybe 8 feet, 9 feet in length. This is 16 feet. So kids love roller slides. So if you make it twice as long, it's even that much better. So that's built into the hill. It's 16 foot long. We also have a wave slide, or a wave rail, which is another, that's not shown on the rendering, but it's shown on the plan, in between the roller slide and the climber on the other side. But we have a rail slide, which kids can either slide down, it's like 2 parallel rails, or they can climb up or hang on, or do a lot of fun stuff. There's a lot of different ways they can use those. And then we have what's called a hillscape climber, and that's the piece on the far end of the hill, which is that piece right there. It's 3 almost like bridge pieces that are made out of recycled wood that kids could climb under, run over, and this again is a new piece. It's an innovative piece that Landscape Structures has just come out with. So those are generally the pieces on the hill. By the shelter, we have a variety of musical instruments. The intention there is kind of to provide those individual play pieces, and by putting them by the shelter and that pavement area, almost a performance space is what the musical instruments are intended to act as. And then we have other individual play pieces, and the one largest one, and I think again, a new piece that just came out in the past year or two, is called a global motion spinner, which is that large round piece that looks like a ball that you can get a lot of kids on and can spin it around. And that piece is really fun. We have nothing like that, but the intention is to, like I say, is to provide new and innovative pieces at this playground. The other thing we've been working with the manufacturer on is the tops of the playground. And you'll see these pieces, these green pieces on top, one on the one on the 5 to 12 piece and one on the 2 to 5 piece. And those are an opportunity for us to bring a lot more color and theming into this playground. In this rendering, they're shown as green, but our intention is really there's 3 layers. There's a lower band, a middle band, and then the top. And our intention is to make this look like sky. You have like the trees from the posts, the brown of the trunks of a tree from the posts. The underside is being a green like the tree, the middle being clouds, and then the top being blue like the sky. So that's kind of a new piece too. And I might say that on the 5 to 12, what's under that piece is a net climber. So there's a lot of activity in that piece where kids can climb all over, and there's platforms that are not your standard platforms, but they're more agility type things where the kids can balance, they can move, they can get a lot of kids on these pieces. The other intention on this is to bring in the Heritage Park brand into this playground, and the ways we are looking to do that is through the surface coloring. You've seen we've done a lot of innovative different designs in our surface at our other playgrounds. The intention is to do the same thing here, but also bring in the colors of the Heritage Park brand. We're working with the manufacturer also to put the Heritage Park logo on panels on both play structures, also on the welcome sign. You can kind of see a welcome. There's 3 welcome signs at each point into the playground. There's a welcome sign, and the intention is to have the Heritage Park brand and logo on those. And then the 2 to 5 piece has a plastic roof piece, and that will also say Heritage Park on that. So some pretty exciting stuff in the playground itself. If I can jump over to the landscape plan. Our intention on the landscape is generally to keep it simple. We want this playground to be open, to be visible. So the theme of the landscaping is primarily open and natural. And on the playground, on the landscaping itself, that's not the next one. I think it's the landscape plan. There you go. Well, it's kind of hard to see, but.
Well, we have one here.
Oh, okay. The idea there is we've got transitions from, you have the path going around, you have lawn areas, and then you have the perennials and shrub areas, and then you're into the playground. So there's a lot of transition, and we're working with heights, textures, and colors throughout this playground. So, I mean, throughout the landscaping. So there's a lot of color in the landscape palette from spring all the way through fall. We've got very few shade trees. I believe there's 9 shade trees, maple for fall colors. There's a Japanese Zelkova, which is in the elm family, but resistant to Dutch elm, and that's why it's being used. And then thornless honey locust and swamp white oak, which are trees that we have in Heritage Park. So it's kind of bringing in the landscape that we have throughout the rest of the park, kind of including some of that in here. And then the ornamental trees are primarily for color. We have serviceberry, which is white, flowers in the spring, but also has fall color, and the Peking lilac, which has fragrant flowers in the summer. Same with the shrubs. We've got a variety, 4 different types of shrubs, all low. The idea is to keep views into this park, but they all have, they're all flowering, and they all have, not all, but most of them have fall color as well, like the sumac has fall color, as does the spirea. And then perennials, and we've got a nice mix of perennials that are going to provide colors throughout the season, yellow, indigo, purple, pink, a lot of different colors, and then some lower grasses too to give it kind of a natural look. So there's all the pictures of the plant material, and this is kind of what we've been providing you with, as of recently, is not just the landscape plan, but these images so you can have a better understanding of what the plants look like. So having said all that, we are very, very excited about this playground, and we look forward to it, and be happy to entertain the comments and the questions.
Great. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Raffel. Commissioner Johnson.
Well, thank you. As always, you guys do a very impressive job on getting these packets together for us. The pathways are all asphalt?
The pathways around the playground are concrete.
They are concrete?
Right.
Just where you're tying in is
Right.
the asphalt?
Right.
Okay. I really have no other questions. Thank you very much.
Commissioner Creech.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thanks for the great presentation. Everything looks wonderful. I'm excited to see it finished. Thank you.
What are you going to play on?
I'm still
friendship
small enough.
2 to 5?
2 to 5, I think I could handle. Nothing taller.
Commissioner Blanova.
Thank you. I don't have any questions or concerns. Thank you very much. Beautiful. Can't wait to start using it. Thank you.
Commissioner Kalis.
Thank you, Chairman, and thank you. My wife and 5-year-old are very excited about this plan, so thank you. I'm not familiar with the park. Where's the nearest restroom? Would you have to go to the recreation building, like through the parking lot, or?
You can go, I think the nearest would probably be the Community Recreation Center or the sports complex.
Okay, I'm just wondering if you
Yeah.
have to cross the parking lot
you
to
can,
get to.
I'm sorry, Family Aquatic Center has restrooms that you can.
Okay, so
you
on
can
that same
access from
side,
the outside,
that's right.
Yeah.
So will you be allowed to go into the pool to get into the bathrooms?
No, you can access the bathrooms from the outside.
That's true.
By the
Okay, yeah.
concession area.
That's true. It's been a whole year since I've been there, so I forgot. Okay, and then in the picture of the example of the picnic area, there is a grill. You didn't say anything. Is there going to be a grill area in our
No,
version
we're
of
not.
the shelter? Okay,
No, I think that was just
Okay.
the image that
gotcha.
came from the catalog there.
Okay. It would have been nice, but I assume fire code and things. But yeah, that was it. Restrooms and shelter, but looks amazing. And I would love a zip line in every park in the whole world, like at the library. But this is I've never seen the arch thing down the hill. I think that's
Yeah.
very cool, and the roller slide. I'm looking forward to. So yeah, very cool. Thank you.
Commissioner Powers.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Wonderful planning as usual. Couple quick questions. You did mention lighting, is that going to be pole lighting, or are you going to have something like in the ground? I was just curious. You said that the play area would be lighted.
It'll be the pole lighting, the ones you see right there, they'll be relocated to the perimeter of the playground.
Okay. Last thing too is, you have extensive landscaping. How do you typically make sure that that's maintained? I mean, as far as watering, you have water trucks you go around and water the planting?
We have water trucks, I believe. Sometimes we have the meter from the hydrants. There is a hydrant nearby, but we have water trucks, and we maintain our landscape pretty.
Well done. I have nothing further.
Commissioner Dorgan.
This is a wonderful design, and I really love all the choice of all the trees and the planting, because I think it's, it's going to be really nice all seasons. So thank you again for a complete packet. It's really appreciated.
Thank you. I just have a few general questions. What is a roller slide?
The best way to explain that is if you go to a packing place or something and they put a box.
A conveyor.
A conveyor belt that has the rollers on it and things just roll along. And believe it or not, it is probably the most popular play element at every playground.
Where's the nearest one? I'd like to go see it.
I guess the nearest one would be.
We're in the village. What park?
I believe we have one over at Twain.
Okay.
If you pick up a package at Apt, they have a roller slide that you can throw.
But
like most loading docks have.
I'm almost certain that one is going in at Meadowbrook right now.
Okay. Cool.
So yeah, I'll
go look at them.
At our listing sessions, they always ask for them.
Because the zip line at the library, my grandkids just absolutely love that. That's really cool. But that looks interesting. And then the climbing elements are, that you build into the terrain are really good, are nice. It's a great idea to build that in there. My question, and probably, I'm not sure if it's a question or a comment, Andrew, because on page 21 of the packet, L4-1, and you had, you had indicated that the pathways were going to be concrete, but I see where it reads concrete paving, and then it also has asphalt paving, alternate deduct. I would assume that if you went with asphalt, it would have been reduced, the cost would have been reduced or something.
Yeah,
I just want to make sure that that doesn't, muddle anything up.
It is concrete. I think when these plans were originally submitted, they included potential deducts to reduce the cost, but
Sure.
the intention is.
And that's what I thought. I just wanted to make sure.
I mean, if that, if something needs to be included in the.
And then my last comment, and I don't know if you've considered it, and maybe you haven't, a lot of people bring their dogs.
Mm-hmm.
Do you have like a place where they can grab a bag in case? Mm-hmm. Are those going to be placed in?
We have them throughout the park. We can look at where the nearest one is to this playground. And probably because it's a lot more people are going to be in this location, put one there, put another one there.
And then how many benches will you have? Those are always really popular for us.
Yeah, I think we're going to have, you know what?
When you're not on the playground equipment, you mean?
No.
I believe we have four or five benches.
Okay.
I don't have the.
And then you have the sitting
And
walls.
we have the seat walls as well.
wall.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. No.
You won't be able to get off the roller slide, I guarantee it.
Yeah, excellent, yeah. That's all I had. It's a great presentation, exactly what we're looking for, and as usual, we don't have any questions about anything. So, anybody else have any questions? Do I hear a motion?
So moved.
Before you vote on that.
Yes. Oh, I'm sorry.
I
You
do
got
have
the
the
conditions. I was
Just
so
want to read them
excited.
off.
Yes,
Yeah.
get started on it.
Who made the motion, by the way?
Commissioner Johnson, second by Commissioner
Remind me
Kennedy.
to double check you that you're okay
Aye.
with the motion with this condition in it.
Okay.
Number one, the trees, light poles, and similar objects should not project over the pathway unless a clear height of 13 feet can be maintained. And number two, that boulders or similar obstructions should not be installed along the east pathway where they may impact emergency vehicle movement.
Yeah, I guess I'm okay with that.
Still okay? Okay, so we have John.
Motion by Commissioner Johnson, second by Commissioner Kalis.
Excuse me, Andrew.
Yes.
Yes, Ron?
Did I type in east?
Did say east.
Along the east pathway.
Pathway.
That's right, it is the east side.
Again, third time's a charm. A motion by Commissioner Johnson, second by Commissioner Kalis. Mr. Secretary?
Commissioner Johnson?
Yes.
Commissioner Kalis?
Yes.
Commissioner Blanova?
Yes?
Commissioner Creech?
Yes.
Commissioner Dorban?
Yes?
Commissioner Powers votes yes, and Chairman Rafato.
Yes. Thank you.
Well, thank you.
We'll have something for you this time, Mr. Ref. You know how to print that? You might not come back.
I'm a little lost.
We normally have something, clipboard. Is there a clipboard? Yeah, that's right.
There's a clipboard way down there. We're going to need it for other.
Thank you. Thank you. And have a good evening. Ready, Andrew?
I reckon.
Calling docket numbers 2018-7 and PC 18-6, Wieland Metals, 567 Northgate Parkway, 2018-7, variation from Title 19 zoning related to required parking, PC 18-6, site plan appearance approval of a building addition. Mr. Secretary.
Docket number 2018-7, Wieland Properties Incorporated, property owner is seeking a variation from Title 19 zoning of the Wheeling Municipal Code, Chapter 19.11, General Development Standards, Section 19.11.010, Off-Street Parking and Loading, Section E, Parking Standards, Subsection 1, Minimum Required Parking per Land Use Category, and associated sections to reduce the required parking for industrial uses and associated sections to construct a second building at the existing manufacturing facility at 567 Northgate Parkway, which is zoned I-2 Limited Industrial District and I-3 General Industrial District. Standards for a variation. A zoning variation is intended to be a method of adjustment to equalize regulations where Title 19 of the Village of Wheeling zoning has created an unnecessary hardship. A variation is designed to allow affected property owners the same rights and privileges that others enjoy in the same zoning district. In order to be granted a variation, a petitioner is required to demonstrate through testimony to the Plan Commission at the public hearing why the request meets the conditions of the village code, including but not limited to how their individual situation is unique or unusual. Prior to the public hearing, the petitioner provides written statements meant to show that the request for variation meets the standards established in Title 19. The commission chairperson will typically direct that these statements be entered into the record without a full reading of them at the hearing. Based upon testimony and supporting materials submitted, the Plan Commission will make findings in support of or against the petitioner's testimony and report those findings to the village board. Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. Mr. Jennings, anything?
Just a couple of quick notes. Staff had no objection to the parking variation. We've worked with this particular business in the past on parking variations and land bank parking covenants. We have, as I said, no objection to that. Prior to the meeting, we did discuss with the petitioner one of the items in the staff report. You may recall a note regarding the labeling for the exterior building materials on the elevation drawings. We spoke with the petitioner prior to the meeting, and there's a label that is incorrect. They will, I'm sure, cover it during their portion of the discussion here, but staff's interpretation of that, with the label being correct, is that the metal siding along the west elevation would arguably not meet the design standards in Appendix D. We've discussed that with the petitioner. So when we get to that point in the discussion, we may go through options for dealing with that. But with that, I would hand it to the petitioner.
Petitioner, please come forward. I assume you will both be speaking tonight?
Yeah, Frank Billmeyer from Wieland.
Yes, so if you could just raise your right hand, and you swear the testimony you give to be the truth tonight?
I do.
Thank you. And if you could, when you come up to the dais, could you please speak your name and business address?
Yep.
Thank you.
My name is Charles Reister from Grundon Reister Architects, 20 North Wacker Drive, Suite 2418, Chicago, Illinois, 60606.
Thank you very much.
The proposed new 111,204 square foot building is located at 567 Northgate Parkway at the southeast corner of Lake Cook Road and Northgate Parkway in Wieland, Illinois. The project consists of a new construction of Phase 1 First Bay of 47,450 square feet, production building, Phase 3 Bay 2 South 47,450 square foot production building, and Phase 3 16,304 square foot office and MEP FP building along the site work that includes but is not limited to driveways, loading dock driveways, and parking spaces. Phases 1, 2, and 3 are scheduled to be completed in 2019. Phase 4 and Phase 5, the third and fourth production bays, both 46,440 square feet, are scheduled to be completed sometime in the future depending on the Wieland Metals business plan. We propose applying for a parking variation for those future phases at that time. We also propose installing the Lake Cook sidewalk during Phase 5. The new building is situated in the middle of the property and north of the existing facility. Two-way traffic flow into the parking lot occurs on the west side of the property off of Northgate Parkway. Parking is located between the existing building and the new building and on the west side of the existing building. Loading docks and driveways will be located on the east and west sides of the new production building. The existing facility has parking requirement of 249 parking spaces. The proposed addition will require an additional 129 parking stalls for a new requirement of 378 parking stalls. The proposed parking total is 257 parking stalls, which requires a parking variation of 125 parking stalls. On sheet A001-P, included in the closed and submitted documents, we illustrated that during peak shifts, only 204 parking stalls are required. This total of 53 parking less, this total is 53 parking stalls less than the provided 257 parking stalls. The proposed parking will accommodate the employees, guests, and some future employee growth. The landscape proposed for the Wieland Metals building expansion facility will address the company's goals and objectives by providing an attractive outdoor environment, and will meet the village landscape requirements and provide a consistent landscape and hardscape treatments throughout the site, and will be coordinated with the materials in the adjacent streetscape. The irrigation system will also be incorporated into the project. The wall signage depicting the company's name will be displayed at the northwest corner of the building, similar to the sign that's on the existing building. The exterior lighting consists of parking lot and wall signs, wall light fixtures, and will follow the village's photometric standards. Both the production bay and the office bay are rectangular in plan. The office bay will consist of offices, storage rooms, break room, women and men's toilet and locker rooms, a tool room, a maintenance room, mechanical room, and a quality control lab. Each elevation has been carefully designed to complement the look and feel of the existing facility to incorporate matching brick windows and metal siding. Work will consist of, but not limited to, reinforced concrete foundations, steel structure, exterior wall facade consisting of masonry and metal siding, roofing, doors, windows, interior finishes, loading dock doors, and equipment and MEP FP work. Masonry will be quartered at the office bay on the south side of the production bays and a portion of the east and west sides of the facades of the production bays. We have the masonry and metal siding samples if you'd like to see them, and we will comply with the Engineering Division and Fire Prevention Bureau memorandums. With that said, I'd be glad to answer any questions you may have.
This is a public hearing. Is there anyone in the audience that wishes to speak on this matter? No. Okay, great. We're going to start with Commissioner Powers.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'm going to go to a question in the packet. I was mentioning about a 13-foot band of masonry on some of the elevations. Could you indicate where that is? Because I think staff had a question about it too.
Yeah.
I missed the dress rehearsal, give me 2 seconds.
Well, excuse me, that's fine. I think I have, I put page 46 maybe.
It's A200, there you go. So on the facade, south facade of the office building, that will all be masonry on the east and west and south sides.
Oh, I see.
Okay, and then also on the production buildings on the two ends, there'll be masonry on the south sides, Andrew, and then on the south sides of the east and west elevations, that's masonry. On the north elevation, we would like to have metal siding. We're showing the berm on Lake Cook Road that's dotted in. We'd like to have metal siding in there, so when we add on to the fourth and fifth bays, we can easily do that. It'll be a little more difficult if it was masonry.
And you've brought masonry samples with you?
Yeah.
While we're on this slide and getting the masonry sample, the question that staff had during the review was it's difficult to see here, but it was with respect to this label. The question was whether it was the label that was incorrect or the hatch marks on the representation of the texture.
The label is missing.
When the label was...
There's an old label.
When the label was determined to be incorrect, we as a staff felt that this particular elevation along this side would be called into question under the design standards of Appendix D. And so that's why I made the comment that I did at the start of this hearing.
We didn't have, there's budget concerns all the time, right? So we wrapped the masonry around the south portion of the production buildings and stopped it at the first loading dock door. We didn't include it for the rest of the facade just for budget concerns. We would like to have it that way, but we understand your guidelines and stuff, so we were willing to, if we can't have what we want, then we're willing to have it on the west facade and maybe not the east facade, which faces the pond. No one's going to see, so we're willing to work with you.
Okay. You did mention that you intend to put in a irrigation system.
Yes.
That's great. Have you indicated, I didn't look, page 48 is the landscape plan. Have you indicated on that plan where the areas that you intend to actually irrigate?
The landscape would all be irrigated.
The landscape will all be irrigated, okay. The demolition plan that you have, I was by the site today and I noticed on the north side, which is the West Drive, and your addition is going to go north of that. Are you planning to save any of the trees? There are some look like crabapple trees.
Along the existing facility?
Yeah.
Whatever we can save there. I think there may be a picture, Andrew.
Yeah, there was.
Your first picture.
One of the first-
Anything along the existing facility we were going to try to incorporate?
How about on the north side?
North side? No,
On the other side of
On the other side of that drive?
We cannot save those.
Cannot save those, okay. So you'll do what you can to save what you can?
Yes.
Great. Was a comment in the packet, in some of the elevations, are there plans to put any exterior mechanicals, like air conditioning, HVAC systems or whatever, and do you have any kind of picture, like where those would be on the new structure and intent to screen them?
If you see, that's the office wing right there.
Mm-hmm.
They'll be located there's going to be 5 little office units. Those will be located on the east end of that office wing, away from Northgate Parkway.
So there'll be units on top of the...
On top of the building, yes.
Yeah, but not on top of the bigger part?
The bigger part, there'll be exhaust fans.
Okay, that'll answer that. Oh, Andrew, can you pull up page 41? I don't know, 41 of the packet. I have a question.
Which plan is that?
Is there a number on the?
There's always a number on the plans.
A001, is that the one?
001,
Yeah, A001. Well, I don't know. Or I'm not really sure. Or,
That's A001 on the screen.
yeah. Okay, it looks, I'm seeing, and the West Drive and in the rear of the building, like those 3 parking aisles, I believe I saw some other renderings where the west aisle is like shaded and one like row of the back, the east side is like shaded. Do you know why?
We're doing different, we're doing some concrete paving.
Okay.
We're doing some parking, asphalt paving, and then we're also doing driveway paving. It's just indicating the different materials that we're using.
Okay, so it's just to differentiate between the materials, because I didn't know. The only other question I had was, in the new addition, the 2 big additions with the bays in the back facing east, do you have any plans to like put any lighting on there to light that up or no? Because I saw in some of your other...
There's lighting above the doors, that's about it.
There is? Okay, there will be?
Yep.
Okay. I really have nothing else at this time. Thank you.
Commissioner Dorban.
Thank you. I guess this question is probably more for staff. When we are projecting this far out with a project, is there anything we need to do? Because it's talking about future projects. Is there anything we need to be concerned with because of that?
I think, we've gone through different iterations of this with the business of how best to represent it. Are they prepared where they believe that they could represent those additional bays at this point, or would they prefer to wait for the future? I think they've reached a point where they're confident that this configuration will be constructed. I don't want to put words in your mouth, but it sounds like there may be some possibility of modifying the additional bay. So the business is comfortable at this point proposing these, and they're requesting flexibility for the future bays. They understand that they would need to come back for the additional approval for the future bays. They're requesting some consideration during this review to set up that expansion, namely the consideration for the sidewalk to be constructed in conjunction with the 4 and 5, phase 4, phase 5, as well as the consideration for the north elevation to be semi-permanent in a way, to have the metal siding along that side so that they can accommodate the future bays. Beyond that, they do understand that there could be consideration for the parking variation to be modified in the future. So there are a few things that do set up the future review that I think you should consider during this review.
We always do master planning for our clients just to make sure that it fits later on.
Okay, that was my major question. I just want to say that I'm really sorry that you haven't planted the sunflowers. I still miss them. That's all I have.
Commissioner Blanova.
Thank you. I don't have any questions. Thank you.
No questions? Okay, great, thank you. Commissioner Kalis.
Thank you. No questions either.
Thank you.
Commissioner Johnson.
The phases you talk about, to us, phase 1, 2, and 3, that's just one
It's
building.
one phase. Yeah,
Okay.
so it's sort of left over. We were going to do just one production bay, and then we.
Yeah,
extensive
it's more
study.
internal than,
Yeah, it's more internal.
okay. Just wanted to clarify that.
Yep.
And you don't have any guesses as to when 4 and 5 could
We're
happen? I
hoping
mean,
that-
it's great to see they're having a great business, but.
Yep. We're hoping that, they have a great go with bays 1 and 2, and the need for bay 3 and 4 is there, and it's all based on business plan and when the need is.
Well, part of my question on that is, it looks like you're doing a great job on landscaping the north side. And if it's only a couple years away, I hate to see all that stuff get ripped out. Can you maybe plant something closer to Lake Cook to screen the building?
We could work with the village on that to maybe move those away or postpone those.
Or
just
some of them anyways.
So, yeah, it's, the landscape person went a little bit, I think we'll do whatever makes sense with the village, whatever we need for requirements to meet the village landscape code. But we're here to work with the village, and if we can move some of that to Lake Cook, maybe increase the berm and put trees around there or something, we would, or, thin things out a little bit. We're willing to work with Andrew on that.
Great. That's all I had, thanks.
Commissioner Creech.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, but all my questions have been asked and answered already.
Okay.
So I have nothing.
Thank you. Let's start with the brick. Andrew, if you can go to what was it, elevations. There, okay. So the west end, first, you showed us a brick sample, and that matches the
That matches
existing.
it close as we can.
Okay, yeah, right, exactly, because I'm not,
Things coming.
oh, yeah, right, exactly. So if that brick could be extended north, right there, where you actually had the word masonry,
Yes.
I'll take a poll, but I would like to see that so it matches your existing buildings that you have going.
There's a band around the whole facility that's at 13 feet, about.
Yeah, well, but I don't want it around the whole facility, just the front.
Right.
Right, so you can extend the masonry all the way to the north on that west elevation?
If required.
I'm going to poll everybody to see if that, okay. So I'll ask poll, well, I'll ask right now. I'm proposing that the brick get extended all the way to the north on the west elevation. Commissioner Johnson?
Are you saying all the way across?
Yes.
So in between the doors and everything?
Yes, as it is on the existing buildings.
Yeah, I think it would look better.
Yes, Commissioner Blanova?
Thank you. Yes, I think it will look better.
Yes, Commissioner Johnson? I mean, I did ask you already, unless you want to
I
vote twice.
don't get to vote twice. I'm not in
We're
Chicago.
not in Chicago, okay.
I agree with what Don said, so I'm a yes.
Yes, okay. Commissioner Dorban?
Yes,
Commissioner Kalis?
Yes.
And Commissioner Creech?
Yes.
Great, thank you.
We will extend it on the north.
Great, thank you.
We may stop it like maybe by the windows there, so when we head onto the building, it's easier.
So at the beginning of it or at the end? So
The end of the
beginning,
windows, just a couple of feet from the end.
okay, that would be fine, just to make it
Just
easier.
easier
Yep.
when we head on.
Sure, fine. So, and I've always pronounced it Wieland, but it is Wieland.
Wieland Metals.
Okay, great. So I learned something new. What happens in those buildings? I'm curious, because I go by and I see.
secret.
Okay, that's what I thought. I go by there sometimes and the overhead doors are open and I see a whole heck of a lot of steel. So what goes on?
Their major, I don't know, Frank, you can help me out here, their major product is copper.
Copper.
And so one of their first facilities on the south has rolling mill lines. There's, the second building is more storage and smaller machines. And this facility is going to be similar to the existing building just to the south. And it has a lot of tubing. So what they do is they'll bring in material on the east side,
Okay,
right? Those loading docks on the east side, and unload their material there. And then there'll be a series of 26 machines or so on each bay, or both bays, to do their tubing or whatever they do. And then at the west end, there'll be the finished product, and they'll load those up on those loading dock doors, and away you go to the customers. So I don't know if pretty much?
Pretty much it.
You know,
is it a 24/7 operation?
No, not 24/7, but 24/6.
Okay, wow. Yeah, because every time, late at night, if you go by there, there's, yeah.
it's mostly 1 or 2 shifts, but sometimes a third shift.
Okay, great, thank you. And then the next question was about the last time they were here, I can't remember if it was an addition, we land banked some parking, correct? and I think it was on the northern side of that. So that's all removed. So there is no opportunity for any additional parking to be added if it was needed. And based upon your calculations.
We have 53 extra spaces right now,
Right, yeah. Okay.
and we have 1 car per employee.
So if you could go through your calculations again on the parking, just for me, you know, I think all the commissioners would like to hear that again, and that was on,
Well, we worked with Andrew on this. There's 3 different calculations.
okay,
There's manufacturing calculation, there's storage calculation, and there's office calculation. And so those, for the whole facility, would add up to 378 parking spaces required if you took all the square footage on the facility per those uses. And there is a code in your code for a different manufacturing or industrial portion that is 1 parking per employee, which we want to do. It was before, when they went through various items with you guys, that it was classified as a certain industrial use. But we think we're the other industrial use, which is 1 per employee. And so if we take that calculation, we need 204 parking spaces because there's 204 employees throughout the whole facility. That would leave 53 extra parking spaces for guests, for future growth, for the partial, maybe for the next addition. So I think there's like 16 people per bay. So we almost could do the next 2 bays, but we don't want to commit to that because you never know what, if we change the machines
Sure.
and there's more people, and I just don't want to, can't foresee the future. So.
Robots.
yeah. Will this generate more jobs, the additions?
Yes.
Great. Well, that's always good to hear. Andrew, were there any motions any conditions?
There are
Motions?
two different motions in this.
Yes, right.
There's the public hearing item, which is the parking variation, which has no conditions
Right.
attached to it. And there's the site plan and building appearance. The plan commission is a recommending body on both of these items, but the recommendation currently has 3 conditions, 2 from the staff report and 1 from the meeting.
So why don't we go, does anybody have any other questions?
I got one more.
Yes.
In the fire department memo, there was some comment about 2 proposed parking stalls adjacent to the building must be removed. Is that reflected in the plan that we're looking at?
No, it's not. That just came from Ron last week. We didn't have time to
Okay, so can
resubmit.
we make
That we
sure
will
that gets-
incorporate that. We've worked
Yeah,
with,
basically, the existing structure has a fire department connection on that side of the building. I'm going to stay away from east and west after the last petitioner. And they're adding parking spots on that side of the building, and the plan doesn't reflect where the FDC is in relation to the walkways, some of the planting areas, so they may have to remove a space or 2 so that you don't have to go between the cars to get the fire hose up to the building to connect into it.
Okay.
So rather than a condition of approval, I'll just put a note so that we'll just double check the final amount of the variation to make sure that the calculation reflects the loss of 2 spaces. But I think we're talking about 257 proposed spaces as opposed to 259. So the reduction.
Yeah, that's your count, and I'm
reduction
just
would be-
looking at
yeah, we'll
roughly where it could
wait
be.
for Ron for access to the, yeah, no problem.
So I'll have a note with this then, final amount of the parking variation to reflect the reduction of 2 spaces.
And before I go for a vote, one of the items that Commissioner Johnson brought up was the landscaping on the north end, which is fairly extensive on the north side of the proposed addition, building addition. what could we do there, Andrew, or, I mean, depending upon, my concern is, might not be built for another 10 years. And then we're looking at a stark building on that side. Is there any thought there that, I mean, it's something that came up, and I'm not going to hold up anything for that.
Well, I think what you're seeing right now on their representation of the north elevation is the berm, the height of the berm superimposed on the building to illustrate how little of the building you would see from Lake Hook Road. The landscape plan, let's see.
It's on one of one.
One of one, the Julie in the corner.
Where am I looking here?
Maybe the last sheet, Andrew. Nope. Maybe not.
So there's an existing berm, you can see it on the topo. There's an existing berm along Lake Hook. The petitioner intends to keep that berm throughout the construction. If the desire of the Plan Commission is to reduce the landscaping in this area to avoid tearing it out, we can certainly work with the petitioner on moving it north so that it would be clear and have the greatest chance of surviving the future addition as well.
So, I don't know how to poll that. Should we give the petitioner latitude on the landscaping on the north side of the addition? It's a good way to put it. And working with the village staff. Commissioner Johnson?
Yes.
Commissioner Blanova?
Yes.
Got to speak a little bit louder.
Apologies, yes.
Commissioner Powers?
I would think so, yes.
Commissioner Dorban?
Yes.
Commissioner Kalis?
Yes.
And Commissioner Creech?
Yes.
So we'll give you, work with staff.
We work
Yeah.
great with Andrew and Brooke.
Yeah, and, maybe add some things, but maybe not as extensive as you
Maybe
have
not
there.
extensive here, but maybe stuff out towards the berm.
Possibly, yes.
Put something out on the berm.
Exactly, just to save that.
Yep.
Plus, everybody drives 70 miles an hour on Lake Cook Road anyway. So, but, I mean, it's extensive and it's nice, and I would hate to see that
Right.
ripped out, so.
Edie.
Let you stop typing.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes.
Can a comment go on the landscape plan that says that those plantings will be irrigated? Or is that an understanding? I don't know, is there any kind of indication, just so we don't lose that?
I don't see it on the landscape plan.
I thought there was a staff comment that we,
I think it's one of the proposed conditions by staff.
Okay.
And
All
just
right.
working on drafting the rest of it right now.
Okay.
we want to maintain it.
No, that's fine.
Frank doesn't want to get out.
No, it's great, it's fine.
Okay, sorry, I'm doing too many things at once here. So the question was, I'm sorry, what now?
About
Irrigation?
irrigation.
It is a condition. The way it's been represented, I think we are fine with, it's been
Yep.
Okay.
irrigate every landscape area.
All right, thank you.
Any other questions, comments? So do I hear a motion on 2018-7 variation from Title 19 zoning related to required parking?
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Commissioner Powers, second by Commissioner Dorban. Mr. Secretary?
Commissioner Powers, vote yes. Commissioner Dorman?
Yes.
Commissioner Bonova?
Yes.
Commissioner Creech?
Yes.
Commissioner Johnson?
Yes.
Commissioner Kalis?
Yes.
Chairman Rafato?
Yes. And before I get a motion on PC 18-6 site plan appearance approval of building addition, can I hear the conditions?
Sure. Number 1, landscape irrigation shall be provided in accordance with the code. Number 2, if a looped water main is proposed, a plat of easement shall be provided prior to permit issuance. Number 3, masonry material will extend north along the west elevation of the new building, but may end at the northernmost window to facilitate the construction of additional bays. Number 4, landscaping plan may be adjusted to reduce landscaping within the footprint of the future phases while meeting the intent of screening the north elevation.
Very well written.
Yeah, that's impressive.
Do I hear a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Commissioner Johnson, second by Commissioner Kalis. Mr. Secretary.
Commissioner Johnson.
Yes.
Commissioner Kalis.
Yes.
Commissioner Blanova.
Yes.
Commissioner Creech.
Yes.
Commissioner Dorban.
Yes,
Commissioner Powers votes yes, and Chairman Rafato.
Yes. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
And thank you for staying in the village. It's a great
Yeah.
addition. You'll have something to sign, sir? Motion to close.
so moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
You'll just have something to sign. Two somethings. Four somethings, that's right.
They're printing something for you.
We have
We sell your signatures.
We don't
for-
have,
yeah.
or we do?
Or we sell your signatures on eBay. Yeah, so, yeah, very famous.
These are the variation. There, that one.
And then if you sign those two. And you get a copy of that one, too. Good job. Those two are yours. Thank you very much. It's been in the village for a long time. You ever have like an open house or anything? Ready? Calling dockets number 2018-8A and 8B. Mexcal Mexican Grill, 58 North Wolf Road. 2018-8A, variation from Title 19, zoning related to required parking. 2018-8B, special use site plan approval for a sit-down restaurant. Mr. Secretary.
Docket number 2018-8 A and B, Herberto Gomez, on behalf of Mexcal lessee, is seeking the following for the property at 58 North Wolf Road, which is zoned B3 General Commercial and Office District. Docket number 2018-8A, variation from Title 19 zoning of the Wieland Municipal Code, Chapter 19.11 General Development Standards, Section 19.11.010 off-street parking and loading, Section E parking standards, subsection 1 minimum required parking per land use category, and associated sections to reduce the required parking for a restaurant, and 2018-8B, special use site plan approval as required under Title 19 zoning of the Wieland Municipal Code, Chapter 19-06 Commercial Districts, Chapter 19-10 Use Regulations, Chapter 19-12 Site Plan Approval Requirements, and associated sections in order to establish a sit-down restaurant. Standards for a special use. A zoning special use is defined in Title 19 of the Village of Wieland zoning as a use of a parcel of land that requires review and consideration before approval due to circumstances or effects on the surrounding properties that may adversely affect them. In order to be considered for a special use, the petitioner is required to demonstrate through testimony to the Plan Commission at the public hearing why the request meets the conditions of the village code, including but not limited to how the proposed use will not damage the enjoyment or use of the surrounding properties. Prior to the public hearing, the petitioner provides written statements meant to show that the request for a special use meets the standards established in Title 19. The Commission chairperson will typically direct that these statements be entered into the record without a full reading of them at the hearing. Based upon the testimony and supporting materials submitted, the Plan Commission will make findings in support of or against the petitioner's testimony and report those findings to the Village Board. Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. Mr. Jennings?
Yes, before I ask for the petitioner to come up, I want to clarify something written in the staff report. There's a brief mention under the discussion of the standards for the variation of a determination that the village made relative to the number of seats that this particular business is able to have. We've been working with the ownership group for several years actually now. When they first purchased the business, they approached the village with the concept for what you'll see tonight. And we discussed with them the approach for their application. One of the items that had just come up around the same time was due to a required inspection related to the business license at the change of owner. The Fire Prevention Bureau had brought to our attention that there were additional seats located in the restaurant. We worked with the business and went through our records and determined that the prior owners had been adding seats into an area that had previously been a standing area, a counter area in the lobby. This particular ownership group worked with us to reduce the number of seats to a level that we thought was consistent with the prior approvals combined with changes in the zoning code. So the zoning code had evolved over time. We recalculated the parking from the original approval using the current standards in the zoning code. We set a cap for them. They reduced the seat for the cap. As it turned out in the end, they've only proposed in this application to increase the seating one more from 48 to 49. So while the parking variation does seem like quite a jump from the original approval, that does not factor in any of the modifications that were made without approval since the original 1990 special use. So hopefully that clarifies that they have been working with us for some time on this application. They have other businesses that this would be similar to. I'll let them get into that. But I just wanted to clarify that the number of seats, while it is a parking variation, it is less of a variation than it might appear because they've been operating with this very similar number of seats for quite some time now. So with that, I'd like to hand it over to the petitioners to introduce the project.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Will you both be speaking tonight?
I'll be speaking on behalf of him. I'm the business administration of the whole group, but he's the owner of the group.
Okay, so would you please raise your right hand? Do you swear the testimony you give tonight to be the truth?
Yes.
Thank you. And just state your name and business address.
Okay. Victor Rangel, 58 North Wolf, Wieland, Illinois, zip code 60090.
Okay. The floor is yours to explain what you want to do with this property.
Yeah, so basically, members of the board, we're looking to not to increase the seating as Mr. Andrew Jennings was explaining. We're just looking to remodel the restaurant. This restaurant has been open for 25 years. In my expertise, I believe that in order to increase foot traffic to the restaurant, it needs a remodelation. It's a really old restaurant. I don't know if any of you guys had been in there. Personally, that doesn't represent the whole philosophy of our group, restaurant group. We have different restaurants in which we believe that a combination of good food and good ambience make a really successful business. So basically what we're asking here is just to we have a small storage room in there that when we purchased that restaurant was not being utilized. So basically they just had chairs and tables and things like that. As we were working with Mr. Andrew Jennings, we noticed that the number of seats wasn't like in the numbers that it should be. We work in order to have the number of seats that the village feel comfortable. As for now, we're just trying to increase, as he mentioned, one more seat. We're looking to get a small bar area for the restaurant and a couple of tables in there to have more space. The idea is to demolish that storage room and to have more space in between tables, because being myself a customer when I go to restaurants, I feel really uncomfortable when I have to sit so close to somebody else, and then I have servers walking all around. It's just not comfortable enough in order to make an experience good enough for all guests at the restaurant. So I don't know if you have any questions.
Can you explain, Andrew, if you can just go back to the seating you just had at the previous one. Just describe what is going to happen here.
So, as you can see, all the right side of the business is going to keep the same. So basically, we're not touching anything on the kitchen or the existing counter area or storage room. The left side of the business is the one that is going to get remodeled. So currently, where that you're pointing at, there's a small storage room in there. That storage room and that wall, that's going to disappear in order to make it look bigger and have better space for our staff and customers to feel more comfortable. And that's basically the only like big change besides adding the bar to the restaurant.
Okay. All right. This is a public hearing. Is there anyone wishing to speak on this matter? Okay. We'll start with Commissioner Kalis.
Thank you very much, Chairman. I had a question, but I think it was answered by Andrew's explanation of it's been operating this way for a while, and the variation is not as big a deal because you've obviously found that the parking isn't a problem. So I guess the main question I had is you are expecting a lot of foot traffic. You get a lot of foot traffic there now?
Well, currently the foot traffic is not as expected. We believe that we can increase the sales at the restaurant, yes. That's the whole point that we purchased the business. We have talking with the other tenants on the plaza to let them know about these things. They are all okay because basically we have a doctor and then we have an insurance company there that close really early, 5 to 6 p.m.
Okay.
So they're basically their parking spaces are not utilized after 5 p.m. So even though that we have like only 12 parking spaces, there's more space after 5 p.m. where we expect to be a little bit more busier. Okay. During lunchtime, we already have, I think that we're already meeting like full capacity, and being like lunchtime periods is between 15 to 30 minutes that guests are in and out, and mostly for takeouts. So we believe that we can be able to fulfill all parking spaces for that.
Okay, yeah, my other question was, who are the neighboring businesses? Have you talked to them? Because if there's overflow and
yeah, no.
Just want to make sure.
Well, we have the liquor store as well. We have a speak with him and having a good relationship with them. He's okay with it as well.
That's always a good thing. Do you guys provide live entertainment here?
Currently, we don't have any live entertainment. We are not planning either to put a stage or bring big groups because of the space that we're going to have. We don't think that's going to be down the road a possibility due to the space. From time to time, we might bring some singer or something that is a solo person with just a guitar or something like that, but it's nothing that is going to complicate the operation.
I was just in Cancun, and the mariachi band came around to every single table, and it was delightful, so just something to keep in mind. But cool, thank you. Looks like a good plan. Thanks. That's it.
Commissioner Johnson.
Thank you. When is your busiest time of day right now?
So right now, the busiest time of the day that we have is noon till 1:30.
So lunch is your big time, okay.
Yeah.
And how long has it been Mexcal?
We purchased the restaurant like 2 years ago, almost 2 years ago. But Mexcal started last year. So the only thing is that right now, due to all this process that we have to do, we haven't been able to change the name on the top of the restaurant, and there's been confusion between customers coming into the restaurant and being introduced as Mezcal, and they saw on the sign El Alamo, and they're like, okay, is this Mezcal or not?
Right. But I know when I went to the Taste of Wieland, you guys were there, and I got card and everything.
That's right.
Where is this place? And never did find it until you finally put a sign up.
I know, and Google is difficult to change as well. They like, we have pictures, it say Alamo, when are you changing the name? But yeah.
But even the building drawings here still have the old name, and they were done in September of last year. I don't understand why it's taking so long to get the name rolled over.
Well, I think it was a matter of between working, not with the village, with the landlord, a couple of misunderstandings in between in there. We finally figured out, but But I think it was just that thing, and it took us a little bit longer than expected to change it.
That's all I have, thanks.
Commissioner Powers.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The game area, that's existing, right? So the machines that I saw in there, that's typically what's there, and
Yeah,
that's what you use?
We applied for the machines, I believe, almost a year ago.
Okay.
That area is, the full idea is just to keep it that way where only 21 years older can enter that area. And actually the counter is going to help a little bit more because like we have a big counter and then we have the machines and we're thinking on putting a double door so that way kids cannot go around and just like enter without anyone notice. We always have somebody like from up and to close seeing there. So if somebody goes there, they go.
So how long have you operated with the seating arrangement that's currently existing there? Has it been, like you said, you've had it for like a year. Has it been that way for a year? And if so, at your peak time, how is that pretty full? And how has that worked with, I assume you've made some observations about the parking and that's been okay? You haven't had any problems with that?
So far, I mean, I believe that during, as I was mentioned, during the peak time from 12 to 1:30, we have seen real good fluid from vehicles. There's not like a lot of people staying there that long, so I believe that helps a lot as well. So basically, on overall, we don't see a problem with the parking lot since we have a good relationship with the other tenants and they haven't come to us to say, hey, you know what, your guys, even though that we're open, are not able to like park in our spaces. So we're good on that part.
And Andrew, I saw Health Department didn't have any comments. I assume the dry storage and all that's okay because I know that it looks like that got moved a little bit, but they're satisfied with where that's getting moved and it'll accommodate their needs.
That's correct. For the most part, the storage area that has been referred to tonight is not the dry storage related to the food preparation.
Okay. All right. I have nothing else right now.
Commissioner Dorbin.
I have no questions, thank you.
Commissioner Creech.
Mr. Chairman, I have no questions.
Commissioner Blanova.
Thank you. I have no questions. Thank you.
So you mentioned this is part of a restaurant group. Where are your other restaurants? How many do you have? I'm just curious.
Yeah, no. We started the restaurant group over a year ago, and it was the idea of tying all the brands that we have, you know, like with a name. We have locations in Elgin, Roselle, Palatine, and Goodrich, and Wieland is part of us. We are not on under the same name. We have different brands. We have two Samis, two Los Arcos, and now Mexcal. We have different menus in a little bit, but the concept maintains the same. Like we try to serve good food and good drinks.
Well, that's good. That's logically what you would want to have at a restaurant that serves drinks and food. So where is the one at Palatine?
We're in Dundee and Baldwin.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, okay.
That's Los Arcos, and it had been open for like 30 years or so.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, I know where that's at. Is that Baldwin?
Yeah.
Okay, very cool. All right. So, and you realize you have to come back to us for signage?
Yeah.
Right, okay. And then lastly, Andrew, I can't remember who brought up, Commissioner Kalis brought up entertainment. Actually, not lastly, but they brought up entertainment. Do we need a condition that because I thought, did we see something about entertainment somewhere in here? Or was that imagining?
I think there may have been a mention of the past restaurant having karaoke in the staff report. This particular group has not continued karaoke that I'm aware of, but if the Plan Commission would like to clarify that this concept for
Well, I wouldn't want to limit, they said they might bring in a single, person to come in. I wouldn't want to limit that, but we can't have there's physically no room in there for a band unless they took out tables, and I don't want that to happen. So is there something, and I'll ask the Plan Commission, is that something we should, that we should be concerned with, that, to limit the size of the entertainment? Commissioner Johnson?
I'm not concerned with it,
Okay.
no.
Commissioner Blanova?
No, I don't think there's that much space to do anything
Yeah,
big.
so, and Commissioner Powers?
I'm not concerned.
Commissioner Dorban?
I'm not concerned with it.
Commissioner Kalis?
No.
And Commissioner Creech?
I have no concerns.
Okay, great. Now, the last question. I see you've got seven tables of 4. What if a group of 10 comes in? How are you going to accommodate them?
I mean, hopefully we'll encounter that problem down the road. I will wish for that. Definitely, I mean, we will have to think about it. We have like locations as Palatine where we cannot feed a group bigger than 12 people. So sometimes we have to kindly decline reservations that big. We'll see with the operation and with the space after we have a better idea of how tables are going to be distributed and the space in between, if we can fit a table that big and how that will affect us. Because as well, before taking any kind of tables like that, what we do is, okay, we do this X amount of money between those hours. If I sit a table of 10 people, how much money I can make out of that?
Sure.
So.
Right. So, I guess there has been seating that much in there, though, against code, correct? Until now, right? So, and my assumption is that they have been good neighbors because we have residential right behind them. And I want you to continue on being a good neighbor because we have residential right there.
I have a recommendation with the table. I have a friend who owns an Asian restaurant, same concern. He used in that lower left-hand corner, a round table, an 8-top, might work so that you can entertain 8 people. Just a thought.
Definitely.
Because that seems like the only area where you've got a pocket of space. I guess you could just put those 2 tables together as well, but anyway, it works well for them. So.
Any other questions or comments?
Yeah, one more thing. I think in our packet, it was a mention about a bike rack. I guess, does anybody, maybe staff know, is there a bike rack on the Wolf's roadside anywhere? Did he need a bike rack? Or I'm just throwing the question out because it was in the packet.
So the recommendation of staff, whenever we have a special use parking variation on a location that does not have a bike rack, the current code does require it. And you have the discretion at this stage to recommend that it be added. There isn't one. We've seen, for the most part, they tend to be really well used by employees whenever we've put one in this type of situation. So
Well, they could put one right to the north of the building right there.
Yeah, it does look like there would be ample space for one there.
Would you be willing to put a bike rack just to the north of the building?
Yeah.
Okay, done.
And that sidewalk's not big enough for outdoor tables, is it? No.
No. That's too bad. Good point. So,
Just trying to think of the entire shopping center, if there is a spot, but nothing I'm aware of. There's an area to the
Whose land
north.
is that?
The area to the north.
actually, it would have been nice to put a little patio right there. Think about that going
That's the
forward.
idea down the road.
Maybe next year.
Okay, maybe next year. when everybody's-
After they get a sign.
Right, after they get, right. Are you done typing?
Yes.
Okay. Do I hear a motion on 2018 8A variation from Title 19 zoning related to required parking?
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Commissioner Johnson, second by Commissioner Kalis.
Yes.
Mr. Secretary.
Commissioner Johnson?
Yes.
Commissioner Kalis?
Yes.
Commissioner Blanova?
Yes?
Commissioner Creech?
Yes,
Commissioner Dorban?
Yes,
Commissioner Powers votes yes, and Chairman Rafato.
Yes. Conditions on special use, Andrew?
There's one condition. Number 1, that a bicycle rack shall be installed on the site in the location agreed upon by staff and the owner.
Great.
Motion approved with the condition.
And that is on 2018 8B special use site plan approval for a sit-down restaurant. I hear a motion. Do I hear a second?
Second.
Motion by Commissioner Powers, second by Commissioner Johnson. Mr. Secretary.
Commissioner Powers votes yes. Commissioner Johnson?
Yes.
Commissioner Blanova?
Yes.
Commissioner Creech?
Yes.
Commissioner Dorban?
Yes.
Mr. Kalis?
Yes.
And Chairman Rafato?
Yes. Motion to close.
So moved.
Second?
All those in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. You'll have something to sign,
Okay,
and thank you for coming in and being conforming.
thank you.
That's
Thank you so
very
much for
helpful.
your time.
Yes, stick around, you'll have something to sign. You can come back up here.
Mr. Whitley doing that. Was I over there?
Continue good luck to you guys. That's good.
I saw it.
So there's 4 sheets that you need to sign. Just sign right there on each one. I got them, yes. Normally Brooke goes down and grabs them for me. I don't have to bend down, but apparently you're not going down. Here you go, 18A, 18B. Those are for you. So you have everything that happened tonight. Thank you very much. Thank you, Andrew.
Okay.
There you go.
Good luck.
Good night, guys. Good luck.
Approval of minutes, April 26th.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes.
I had emailed Brooke early in the week about 2 changes, and she said she'd take care of it, so I just let you know.
As
Well, we're
corrected. Do you
Yes.
remember what they were?
Oh, well, one was German in the meeting, it said Commissioner Kalis, and he wasn't here, and I don't remember, I honestly don't remember what the
I
other
was here in spirit.
Yeah.
So motion to approve the minutes of April 26th as corrected.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Other business, Mr. Jennings. I think we have other business.
Thank you. I do have an item of other business. First, by way of background, we have a few commissioners who have not been here for prior discussions on this topic, so I'll start with a brief intro. The Village of Wieland Strategic Plan, among other items, calls for a project that we've referred to as the Neighborhood Open Space Project. The concept behind this program was to locate areas under village control that are within locations specifically off of the major streets and a little bit further into the neighborhoods to provide access to open space in locations that are maybe not so close to existing parks. So the village started this process by trying to locate the spaces. We did a spatial analysis with our GIS division to locate neighborhoods that weren't particularly well served by parks. And we did an overlay of that with properties that are either controlled by the village or could be controlled by the village. So one of those properties is a location along Valley Stream just west of Elmhurst Road. The village, long story short, the village had been maintaining this parcel for several years. We worked with the Cook County Economic Development Department on a program called the No Cash Bid program, whereby a municipality can jump in line in the tax lien sale of a property by filling out an application with the county and then going through all these steps. The village has been at this for quite a long time. The county made modifications to their program while we were in the middle of it, so it took us significantly longer than we thought it would. However, the program itself is in the capital budget. We are pursuing it. We believe we are on the verge of actually owning the property, and so we're making the final preparations. And because it's been so long that since we've talked about this, we just want to confirm before we actually order and install anything at this location. We just want to confirm that the idea is consistent and we don't end up having to change anything. So the concept that we're pursuing, and this is the parcel that we're looking at here. I'm standing on the bridge in this photograph. Colonial is on the right, and this is Valley Stream Drive on the left. The concept is to have a location a little bit farther in from Elmhurst Road, so it could be a little bit quieter, and just give a location where someone could sit down, rest, speak with neighbors, speak with friends. The model that we're looking at in this case is a bench, easily accessible from the sidewalk, but providing the best possible view of the area. And the area in question over here, the property that the village currently maintains and we're in the process of acquiring. So this is not the type of bench. I should have grabbed the spec for the bench, but this is not a good representation of the bench itself. But the concept of having a concrete pad off of the sidewalk with easy access to a natural area, a little bit away from the busy street. Again, we're looking possibly in this area so that it's not directly at the end of the street here, possibly in this area so that it would have a good access for the neighborhood and be away from Elmhurst Road, which can be somewhat noisy due to the surface and the speed of travel. With that, I just want to open it up to comment from the commission and confirm that our intention here matches what was originally intended with this type of project.
Comments, anyone?
Who, you say Cook County owns it now? Is that?
No, it is privately owned by an owner who has essentially given it up for lack of paying taxes for, let's call it, 30 years. And rather than have to pay all the back taxes, a municipality can apply to take over the ownership and assume responsibility of the property.
Well, if I remember correctly, we talked about different, and sent you different pictures of different kinds of benches. And then we also talked about some pretty much maintenance-free type of plantings, correct? Has that changed at all?
We went through several different concepts. We did have an example from Naperville that had a paver surface under it, where it has been quite a long time since we talked about it, which is why we're here, not just ordering it and putting it in. But yes, we had some concept for planting. We can certainly do that. The thing that costs, the thing that we are, I think, most concerned about right now is making sure that the concept of the bench and this concrete pad, so that it's low maintenance but also easily accessible. That's the main piece that we're confirming. If there's a desire to still pursue the landscaping around it, we can certainly go back and look for opportunities to landscape it.
Okay. Just wanted to make sure I remembered correctly. Thank you.
Any other comments, questions?
In the audience, if that's allowed.
I'm good with it.
Free Wi-Fi.
Just sitting there.
Mr. Stylen, you know we normally can't do that. I opened it.
Somebody yelled out maybe a dog station.
I didn't hear that, but I think a dog station would really good. It's a good idea.
That's an excellent idea.
Similar to what I asked for at the village, wherever that voice came from.
Are there examples of this picture, where's this picture coming from, the sample? Because I'm just wondering who would be walking, I don't know, like who would want to just randomly sit there next to 83? It's not the most peaceful place in the world.
Well, the idea of it, again, is to move it off of 83 and place it further. In this, we looked at a couple different spots. This spot is actually pretty flat and could be an option, but we went out and sort of did a sound test on it, not a fancy sound test.
Yeah.
Just listened to traffic. But yeah, the idea right now is to pull it away from 83.
So, there are multiple areas in the village that we've been looking at,
Yeah.
so this is the first one, I think, right? That,
I mean, I like the idea. I'm just wondering, it's so simplistic. It's like, okay.
well,
put a bench there, yeah.
that's why we wanted it, simple,
Yeah.
and it's something that we talked about years ago to bring this to the village.
Okay. What did you guys talk about? Obviously, I wasn't here. Is there any requirement for like fencing off the creek? Is that a safety thing if people are going to be congregating there?
At this distance, no. I think if we had a concept where we were approaching the edge, then we'd probably be looking at some sort of safety concern. But at this point, this particular spot is flat, it's near the sidewalk, and it's quite a distance from the creek.
I guess my question is, would it be encouraged for people to go, like my daughter loves seeing the fish on the bridge over to Childerley Park, and, you know, if you could get near the water, when there's water there, and see whatever, ducks or whatever, duck feeding station or something. So, anyway, I'm just trying to envision what people would do standing there.
No feeding the dogs.
Is that a rule?
Yes.
Really?
Don't know.
Oh, no feeding the ducks.
Well, they don't do it now, so.
Right.
That is a rule to not feed the
I mean,
ducks?
they
is
don't
it?
do it now, so what
No.
makes us think they're going to do it in the future?
Wait, I have a disagreement here.
Yeah. It's probably not meant to be that, but it's there, it's open now, as Commissioner Dorban had said.
Okay. True.
But it's a good point. It's a good perspective that, taken into consideration as we build onto that, but that's a good point. So I think, Andrew, you got the general consensus to move forward with this plan.
Yeah, and I will take back the comments and see if, I can't promise that we would do the receptacle at the same time. Some concern over if you place it there, you do have to pick up after it. So I want to make sure that anything we put out there, we can take care of. Same thing goes for landscaping. Anything we put out there, we can take care of. But duly noted on both points, and I'll talk with Public Works and see what the possibility is. And it may be a matter of doing it in two steps, where we kind of wait and see how it goes after the first installation of a bench. What is it well used? Is it not used? Do we find that we're able to easily add the landscaping and trash, the dog waste receptacle to it?
Good. Okay, excellent. Thank you. Anything else?
That's it for me. Thank you.
Commissioner Johnson.
Thank you. I had something, I forgot what it was. Oh, the flags that they put out by like Dundee Dogs, what's the rule on that?
So a flag, generally a temporary sign needs a permit. It has a duration associated with it. So if it is out there and does not have a permit, we tend to try to have them removed rapidly, because once they're out, other people assume that you can just display them. So the rule on it is a flag like that is only associated with special events. That needs prior approval. You can do them
So
up to
best fries in
4
town
times
is not a
year.
special event?
I would say debatable. If they have a seasonal sale associated with it, we've given some leeway to folks who are actually making the application. If they make the application, they make the case that it's a special event, maybe a seasonal event, a spring sale of some sort. We do work with businesses on it. But those flags are limited to a total of, I want to say 32 square feet and a total height of 10 feet. So it's somewhat limited by what manufacturers produce. So our regulation is kind of in between a very small flag and the very large ones. And so not every manufacturer actually makes a flag style sign that complies with our code.
And I've also noticed, at least, well, I can only think of one place right now, that we've had some drop boxes suddenly cropping up.
As a continuous effort.
Family video.
Continuous effort to enforce those.
The old Garden Fresh site, there's a drop box and an old couch sitting there now.
If you do see something like that, you're certainly welcome to call the code hotline, 459-CODE, and let us know the location, and we can go take a look and
What
confirm.
kind of Dropbox? What are we?
Clothing,
Salvation
well,
Army,
yeah.
stuff like that.
they're not
Hand-painted signs saying, bring your clothing here, just not very official looking.
Sounds suspect.
That's all I had, thanks.
Commissioner Blanova,
Thank you. I have nothing tonight. Thank you.
Commissioner Powers,
I have nothing.
Commissioner Dorban,
Nothing, thank you.
Commissioner Kalis.
Good to be back. Nothing here. Nothing else.
You liar.
You're right. I actually almost did stay in Cancun forever. You're right. So
Commissioner Creech.
No, I'm good.
I have nothing either. Thank you for a good meeting tonight. A lot of good insight. Do I hear a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
You're done. Thank you.